Alright, here we go. This is a 1v1 custom match on Twin Peaks between the the red player on the left side, Intellect in the Warthog, the standard Warthog, and ChronicX in the standard Chopper. He is the blue player on the right side. And we are on Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks actually used to be way different than this. If you see this big hole in the middle, actually that used to be where an outpost was. And there used to be a lot more neutrals. Well, I don't know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm going to estimate, then I would say something like there were about the same number of neutrals. With both of these outposts put together, there was a lot of neutrals. And right now, if you see Intellect taking all of these units down to black smoke, and what that is doing is actually taking them down to very low life and allowing Intellect to kill them after pregame is over. And what that does is allow him to get experience, because you cannot get experience pregame. So whatever you kill pregame actually doesn't get you any experience. It does clear the units, yes, but if you are going to do anything, just wait for black smoke, especially in Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is very notorious for this lesson and this strategy. But if you are going to wait, if you are going to attack the units, wait for black smoke, and you will get experience upon the kill after pregame is over. And now Chronic was pushing Dillos into mid, or into his onto his side, onto his bottom right side, but a lot of them did die. Dillos are really vulnerable in this initial push toward these outposts, and Intellect doing a much more efficient job with his T99 push. But the problem is that it doesn't give you any mobile units. Chronic taking out just the T99 over here, and it will help him a little bit once upon the occasion, or upon the circumstance that the bottom kind of becomes a stalemate, or one of the opponents needs to go with an alternative. The top island is the next place to go, and kind of if you lose both of these outposts, then it sort of is your only hope of winning. Now look at all these flackers. Intellect has pushed a lot over here, and it has a lot of T99s. Also, he has 2 T99s and a lot of flackers. Chronic, if he put down a lot of Dillos, but he does go down there to the flackers and Intellect's fire. But if Chronic pushed a lot of the Dillos over here, just because there's only 2 T99s, there are only 2 ground attacking units, I guess besides Intellect's OP Warthog DPS, he would have been able to do a lot of damage and get to that kill on Intellect on his way back from that outpost. Intellect was not really considering the respawn time that Chronic, a lot of times, and especially in a 1v1, a lot of times players will just kind of assume, oh, I just got a kill, now I can do a lot of damage and wreak a lot of havoc. But that kind of causes players to overextend themselves a little more than they normally would under other circumstances. If they didn't have an opponent dead, and because it's a 1v1, you know that, yeah, man, there is no one on the field but me, and I can kill whatever I want now. And that just causes players to get killed by by respawn times not being properly estimated. And right now, Chronic has a lot more artillery. Well, okay. See, I gotta think before I say stuff like that. But Chronic, and one does get killed by Intellect. See, a lot of times, especially against artillery, Warthogs will just land right next to him, start firing in, and kill them in like a matter of seconds. And Chronic is doing exactly what he needed to do, and that was shoot his rockets once Intellect lands, and that would really scare him away, especially right now. And Intellect will be able to get this kill. Does get that with, I don't know if Intellect was able to lift off, but Chronic was able to get that kill either with his rockets or with his normal shots. I'm pretty sure that was the rockets. And now Chronic does have a small opening to be able. He really needs to just reposition his artillery and just shoot rockets into whatever he can. But the problem is, Intellect has such a good composition of healing units and T99s, and wow, he's even really disarming a lot of the mines over here. And Chronic is really thin. Just look at the unit concentration over here versus what Chronic has. It is a 62 to 34 upkeep difference. And now, Chronic is just still trying to put more artillery down, but Intellect is just ripping them up every time he drops one. Intellect just uses that as an opportunity to just kill whatever he drops, and Intellect almost going down, and Chronic actually a little too far into right above all those flackers and does get killed there. Now Intellect free to hit these these armadillo, and probably will be able to finish off this outpost before Chronic gets back. He will be able to probably neutralize it, and although Chronic is here, this does get neutralized, and there are creeps flowing in for Intellect, and he will be able to take this eventually. He only has 2 bulbs up now, as there were more creeps, but Chronic is so low on life. Intellect, all he has to do is just stalk him, and but the problem is Intellect is now low on just 0 energy, and Chronic is free to walk away, and then yeah. But he was able to take this outpost, does have a T99 that he can drop, will be able to take care of those creeps coming in, and now, ooh, Chronic is just, okay, that is pretty much exactly what you do. When you lose this outpost on Twin Peaks, you just make a bunch of artillery, position them right here, and hope to God that they kill as much as possible he's actually positioning them defensively instead of, in the offense trying to take this outpost back, which I guess is a good decision because he wouldn't have much to support them. All Intellect would have had to do is just push as many units as he can over. But the thing is, Intellect doesn't have any tanks on the field. He only has T99s, and actually, if you look at his loadout, he only has Goliaths as, the tank class unit. He doesn't have any Dillos, he doesn't have any Longhorn or Gemini. So he does have to wait till level 7 to have a mobile tank army. But the thing is, he is just doing this T99 spam that you see in a lot of players nowadays, and it's really, really effective, especially because the T99 price was lower a little while ago, maybe like a month or 2 ago. And that just makes it much more cost effective to just spam and spam and spam, and they obviously shoot both ground and air, so what happens is you just have a really, really complete defense for, but and obviously the problem is they are turrets, they don't move, but on a map like Twin Peaks, it is kind of useful, especially because you don't have to push in that hard, and with that Goliath in his loadout, Intellect didn't really have to have Longhorn or Dillos or Gemini in his loadout, just because if he was successful with his T99 spam, then he really just needs to wait till level 7, which is pretty much what he's doing. He is just ferrying all of his units over, which kind of makes him a little bit susceptible to backdoor, not really backdoor, but further down outpost drop. And if you see right now, Chronic is bringing 2 Dillos over, and he will drop them on the front door, which is completely undefended, and he is going to go straight for a Moneymaker. Intellect is over here to defend, but he does not pick up the Moneymaker, and he is going straight for the Dillo. Chronic will reposition this, and he does get it on the other side, and Intellect is just shooting at this Dillo, but now Chronic is trying to take out Intellect, trying to deter him away from taking his Dillos down, but now Chronic is pretty low on energy, but hitting the front door really, really uncontested. Now Intellect does put down a T99. He will get hit by those missiles, and I was going to say Seeker missiles. They are kind of just like Seekers, but they fire a different trajectory. Does get Chronic finally, but yeah, I do agree with Chronic. That was worth it. That he did. Wow, he took like a quarter of his health down. The only problem is that was before the halftime heal. So Intellect will get that life back, but he will get less credit boost upon halftime than Chronic, because Chronic doesn't have any fort damage on him. So now, Intellect with the Berthas, and he is level 6. He just needs to wait one more level. He will be able to push hard, really, really hard into Chronic's kind of turtled up base right there. If you look, actually, Chronic doesn't have any tanks over here. He only has Seekers and artillery, which is kind of what you need, because if there is a push of any kind, then those artillery will handle it really. They have much of a larger range of fire than any tank class unit. So oh man, and Intellect still hasn't hit level 7. He really just, at this point, Chronic is, Intellect has not scouted this. Intellect has not scouted Chronic trying to take this top outpost, and it is a power station with 3 sockets, so actually, if you think about it, it is much more powerful than trying to take both of these bottom outposts, which only have 1 socket each, totaling 2, so you will have an additional socket over your opponent if you take the top versus the 2 bottom outposts. The main thing about having the top outpost is just not having an actual land path to your enemy base. And if you see this, Intellect just leapfrogging all this stuff over. If I was Intellect at this point, I would just start selling my T99s and just resell or remaking, buying and selling units just so I can level up to hit level 7. And unfortunately, the spectator view does not have. But he is actually extremely power blocked. He has negative 14 power. He really, really needs to just start selling these T99s, which are not really that necessary. These flackers also are not really that necessary. He really just needs to lower his count right now, just so he can start building and selling and leveling up. He doesn't really have any more units to kill because Chronik is not really producing any and dropping them in an area that he can use. And now Intellect does see that he pretty much has his outpost taken, but Chronik is dropping some armadillos over here. They are very hidden. Intellect does not see these, and he does see them on his map, and he does bring a T99 over. He's going to hit them from the back, so we'll clean them up pretty quickly, but Chronik is massing up quite a force over here of Dillos. Unfortunately, does have to bring them 3 at a time, just because he doesn't have a path over there, but, you know, as the chopper, 3 at a time, that is very, very effective. If you put those 3 there and then just put another 3 down, it will be really hard for a Warthog to deal with, except Intellect does have that air to ground. Oh, but instead, Chronik is just deciding to put them on the front door, trying to get as much double damage as he can, and is past halftime heal, and whoa, actually he's getting a really, really good surround. Does get killed by Intellect there, but there are 6 Dillos, 5 right now, shooting directly into this outpost, or into this fort, and wow, he has a third of his life gone already. Chronik still hasn't respawned, but Intellect has finished cleaning up these Dillos over here, but now Intellect really needs to start making a wall over here. Creeps have leaked over here red creeps have leaked all the way to Chronik's fort, and he does need to start, but he is making Berthas. Intellect trying to kill as many of these Dillos as he can, and he is doing air to ground, which I kind of would, especially with the positioning of these Dillos, would advise against, just because he can 1v1 these Dillos, and this air to ground is extremely inefficient, especially, well, I guess he does have level 3, I have tooltips off, so I can't really see. I forget the progression, but, you know, level 3 air to ground still is not as good as ground to ground with Warthog, especially since he has damage all the way up. He really should have just landed there and 1v1'd all those Dillos, you know, and if he just stood here, he would have been out of the way of fire from any of those Dillos, and you know, that's just how I think it should have gone, and he would have been able to clean up all those Dillos really, really quickly, especially with doing a ground-to-ground attack. And now Chronik's starting to move up his Berthas. And they are actually out of fire from all these other Berthas. They are angled really, really well. Intellect doing another air-to-ground fire, but oh man, Chronik really needs to put up some anti-air, just because Intellect is doing that that air-to-ground fire. Oh, and he is able to leapfrog his T99. Intellect really just needs to do more leapfrogging. He is already level 7. He just needs to sell off his T99s and flackers and just go with a complete goalie push. He has plenty of credits. He's almost maxed out, and Chronik is, you know, comparatively, Chronik has hit level 7 and is selling off, or not selling off, but he is starting to produce more Goliaths, and this is going to be a really close match, especially if Intellect just starts to leapfrog. He will give Chronik enough time to produce all these Goliaths, and Chronik probably won't bring any of these Goliaths out of queue just for the sake of power and just for the sake of surprise. He is just defending with these Dillos, which will definitely be enough. Even if he loses this outpost, I don't think Intellect will be able to bring enough creeps to take it all the way, and he is forced to bring a goalie down, but Intellect, he will see this Goliath. But the thing is, Chronik hasn't brought all those other Goliaths out of queue, so Intellect is not aware that he has 4 ready to go and ready to drop. So when Chronik inevitably retakes that top outpost, which is not quite yet, Chronik really needs to just grab some creeps, and I guess that's what he is waiting for. But when he is inevitably going to be able to take that top outpost back, it will be kind of a race. It will be, I'm pretty sure it will be quite a base race between both of these players, and Intellect dropping a Goliath right on the front door. I'm pretty sure Chronik will now just drop a Goliath to block, and that is what he does. And Intellect dropping flackers over here, it will prevent Chronik from landing and attacking the Goliath from the back, or at least will hinder him greatly from doing so. But those 2 Goliaths will clean up a Goliath and 2 flackers, and now Chronik bringing the Goliath to the front door is, oh man, oh no, he doesn't drop it at the front door. He drops it right next to that other outpost, but he is bringing another Goliath, and Intellect hasn't responded, has not seen him yet. There is a big blue dot right next to his fort, and right now Chronik has 2 Goliaths sitting right here, just demolishing these two T99s over here, and right now Intellect just has creeps and 1 T99, just flackers over there. Now Intellect finally sees these Goliaths, and it is kind of scary. Oh man, his life is going down really fast. Chronik bringing another one right on the front door that is getting really, really close. Chronik is actually losing a lot of life, and he does get the win. Whoa! ChronicX takes this victory over Intellect on Twin Peaks with the last-minute Goliath drops, and does get it over all these creeps and this 1 T99 firing into his outpost, or to his fort. Whoa, super close. Woo! This is RUI, and that's game. See you next time.